Welcome back, guys. Today, our topic is HTML image galleries. Now, we'll be creating picture galleries using tables. I'm sure you know what tables do for us. I am not talking about your dining table. We did that the last time. So today, we'll learn how to add images to our table. Now, the lesson objectives are: the first one is how to add images with HTML. And then secondly, we'll know how to use tables to organize images and how to customize and style our gallery. Okay, what is a picture gallery? A picture gallery shows images in a nice and organized way, just like a photo album on a web page. Can you see this image right here? You can do something like this using your table. You know the simple table we created, and we had the TR, the TD. Inside your TD, you can have an image instead of a text. That is very, very possible. And you add images, as we already know, using the image tag. And it's like when you add a tag, the ing tag to your page, to your VS Code, it tells the browser that an image is meant to go in here. It comes in this format. When you say the ing, it comes with the src, which is the source attributes, where you add your image. You also have the alt. Now this helps you to, now let me show you what it does. Let me break it down for you. The source is the part to your image. That is where you add your image. That is the only part where you add your image. While the alt here is the image's description. It is the description of your image, and it is for screen readers. Okay, now assuming you add an image and the image has an issue, maybe you mistakenly added another text to the image name, now causing the image not to show on your website. You know, you definitely need that alt. What does it do for you? Assuming you add an image of a flower, what your alt will be is flower. Just to show the person, in case the image is not showing on the website, to tell the person that what is meant to be here is a flower, you know? Like, look at this one for instance, the example I have here, it is a cat, the image of a cat, and then what does the alt say? It says cute cat. So just in case this image, for whatever reason, doesn't show on your website, at least the name will show. Now that's good. We already know what a table is. It helps us to organize stuff using rows and columns, just like a grid. Now the table tags I need us to remember are the table tag, the TR, which stands for table row, then the TD, which stands for table data, and these are the cells. I already taught you what this tag stands for. You cannot do without them. Just like this. This is a basic example of what the table looks like. Where you have the table head, the table row, which has a lot of table data inside. Now like this one has the TD, cell 1, TD, cell 2. Now this is how it came out, cell 1, cell 2, cell 3. So like I already told you before, this is now how your basic table looks like. And like I said, tables can hold anything, even pictures. Now let's see how we can do that. With a simple code like this, you can get an image to appear in a cell in place of a text. You know, now let's try it out in our VS Code. We'll go back to our Visual Studio Code. You can use any of your files. I might decide to just create one so that it will be a fresh start. Now I will create a new file and I will say image gallery dots, don't forget this part, .html. Now this is good. I will do my HTML structure, and inside the body I will start creating a table. I already told you how it's done. It starts with the table tag, and then the next thing that comes is this time around I want to have a table head, so that's what I'll stick with. Table row, and instead of TD you have your TH. I will make this just a random name. Let's just say Benny. And then I can give it a caption, you know. I'll give it a caption. And a caption comes just after a table, after the first table head. So the caption will be my pet, Benny. Good. The next thing I want as my TH is just, it can be anything you want. Happy bunny. Good. Now for my second row, I will have this, my TD as well. Now instead of having just a text inside, I can have an image. And how do you add an image? You use the ing tag. I've done that. Like I said, the image comes with a source and alt. This is where the source is where you add the image path, while this alt is just to give the image a name in case it doesn't reflect. Now I'll be adding an image here. Let me show you what it looks like. Let me add an image. I have one already, and it says the cheerful. Okay. I'll also add a name to the alt. Benny. Good. I'll also create another TD, and I'll add an image. Now I'll be getting this from my folder. This one is outside the folder, that's why I named it directly. But since this one is inside a folder called images, I'll have to call up the image first. I have to call up that folder before I get the image inside the folder. Now let me do that. I will say images. This is it. And now this is the drop down of the images I have inside that particular folder. I'll be adding this now. Okay. A bunny. Good. Now let's see what it looks like. Save your work, don't forget to. Then we go to this place. Right click on the file you want to open, and you open it with a live server. Now this is what it looks like now. You have your caption here. You have Benny as the header. You have a happy bunny as the second header. Then you have the two images I just added as the second row. That is wonderful. So let us continue styling this. Now you've seen what I was trying to tell you all along, that you mustn't have just a text. You can decide to have an image in place of a text. And now just like this, we are gradually creating an image gallery. Okay, now let's go back to our slide. Now this looks like what we created a little bit, though this image is not clear, but I'm sure you can see what I'm trying to point out, where you have oranges here. Okay. Now I taught you in the previous class what colspan does. Now colspan stretches across more than one column. Let's say you want your image to be more comfortable, just to take up like 2 columns. I told you what columns are. Now you want your image to stretch out. You can decide to give it a colspan, that particular place it is, the TD, you can give it a colspan of 2. Now what does this do? It makes it take up the second column as well. Now I'll be showing you what colspan does. We'll go back to our Visual Studio Code. Now for me to get the colspan I need, I want to add more data to my table so that I can take up enough space, you know. So to the first row, I am adding an extra TH. I'm adding an extra TH, and the title will be something else. So I'm giving it Great Bunny. It can be any header of your choice. So now I've added the third data. The next one I'll be adding is here for our second row. I'll add an extra image. I'll add the image tag like we do, and from the images folder I'll be selecting another image, making it 3. Now let's save and see what it looks like. Now because the image is too big, you cannot see it clearly, you have to scroll like this. So now what do? I want us to reduce the width of this image. I want us to reduce the width. So I'll go to the table, to the image itself, and reduce it. Okay, for this first image, now I already taught you inline styling, right? Now I'll be styling this image by going here to add a style attribute, and then in here I will say width, because I want to resize the width of my image. I'll give it a width of what should I give it? Let's say 200 pixels. I'll give it a width of 200 pixels. That's for just one image. Let's see what it looks like. Now this particular image has already reduced, and we'll do the same thing to the rest of the images. You can just easily copy the style and paste it, but make sure you don't interfere with the other attributes. Good. Then the next one will be here. I'll save my work and then we go and check it out. Now look at how it's looking. I love it this way, don't you think so? Okay, now I want to give my table a little bit of margin. What did I say margin does? It gives space outside the content itself. It happens outside. So you can actually give your table head, like the beginning tag called table, you can give it a margin. You can also decide to give it a padding, but I want to give it a little bit of space from here. So I'll be giving it a margin left, and let's do that right now. So to my table, I'll be adding the style, and I will give it a margin left of 50 pixels. Now look at this. It's already adding a space to the left side of the table. You see, just outside, not inside the main content. And I also want to give it space, just a little space from the caption itself. I will target our caption and I'll say style, margin bottom. I'll give it 20 pixels. Now you see what it looks like. I added a little space here, another space here. Now what I want to do is I want to add a background image to our first row, which is the TR. I want to add a background image to it. I want to differentiate it from the rest. Now let's do that. For the first row, I'll go there and I'll add a style, and then I'll say background color. I'll give it a background color of brown. Okay, then I'll give the text. I told you how to add a color to your text. I'll give the text white. That's good. Now this is it. I like how it's coming up. I like how my text is looking and the background color it has. Now for the caption, I want to increase it. It's looking a little bit too light and tiny. I will increase it by going to the caption. Now you notice I've already styled it by using the margin bottom. So right beside the last style, I didn't say outside the quote, right beside the last style, I am adding the font weight. And the font weight, I will be using the biggest, which is 900. I will also increase the font size, and I'll make it 30 pixels. Let's see. Now this is more like it. Our table is just forming properly. Now I want, okay, now this is it. I want my Benny to be the only header. I want it to be the only header, so I want it to take up the rest of the columns. I just want it to be the only thing I am seeing here. So how do I do that? Using the colspan. Now let's do that. We'll go to this first one, our TH, and say colspan, take up 3. Let's see what will happen when we do this. Now it has taken up 3 columns and it has pushed away the rest of the 2. Now it has actually helped us because I wanted to get rid of the 2. So I'll go back to my VS Code and I'll get rid of it. Now the only header we have is the Benny. And this is still appropriate because it is still 3 columns because we have assigned it to be 3. In case we want to have more, because from the look of things, we now have 5 columns. Since we have just one TH has 3, while this is 1, this is 1. So we now have a total of 5 columns. So if you want to make it equal, we can decide to add 2 more table data here. But I don't want to do that because I just want my Benny as the only header. So I will get rid of the 2 TH I have, save it and see what it looks like. Now this is exactly how I want my table to be, and you can do the same too. The next thing is we'll be looking at the row span. You can do the same thing with your row span. You can decide to increase the number of rows you have for just one content. Okay, these are examples of pictures and what row span does. This is how it works. This is supposed to be a normal row and then another row, but row span has stretched this out. Now you can see that it's looking different from the rest of the data. So why do we use colspan or row span? We use it to make our gallery layouts more creative. And how tables help us is Tables keep images neat and organized, just like shelves. Now these are gallery ideas you can actually try out. The first one on my list is animal pics. The second one is your favorite foods. You can decide to get images of your favorite food and create a table with it. Another one is travel photos. You can also create a table using your drawings. And there's something else called cell spacing that I taught you in the last class. You can add a cell spacing to your table. Now let's do that. To the head, which is the main table, we will do this. It's not a styling, it's not a CSS property, it's just the normal cell spacing that we know, cell spacing attributes. I told you that the cell spacing happens outside of the content. So let's just add a cell spacing of 10. And then we'll add a padding, cell padding. Just 5. Let's see what it looks like. I've not saved my work. You see what it looks like? Now this is what happened. It gives this space around here, which is the contents. It gave it space all around it. Now let's decide to add if we decide to add a color, background color to our table, let's actually see what will happen when we do that. Let's give it a background color of, let's say, yellow. Now look at what's happening here. This helps us see the spaces that's added. Look at the spaces it added all around our contents. So you can see our gallery is already coming out really pretty. So we will go back to our slide. Now we've already done the cell padding. Now you can do something like this using CSS. You can make your gallery colorful and fun with CSS. And then examples of pictures in a table. Now this is not clear, but this is an example of a table image. That is a gallery. Now look at this. It looks nice. You can do something like this, you know. Then this is another one. Fruits, animals, whatever thing you want to do, you can. So now time for your project. Your project is this. You need to build your own picture gallery using tables. Now you have to use at least 6 images. Make sure you use colspan or row span at least once. Okay? I hope you got that. So that's all for today's class. Make sure you stay tuned for the next class, okay? Bye-bye.